Mine says there's 5 of us.
Mine says that there's 8.
Mine says 8.
Yeah, I see 8.
Hello, John.
I'm sorry. Yeah, mine says participants 8, chat 5. There we go.
Oh, mine says 8 participants. So maybe some, well, no. I don't know.
I don't know either.
Michelle will have to tell us when she comes back home.
Okay, I have 6. Does everyone have 6, or is that just
Yep,
me?
I got 6.
Okay, then I will call this meeting to order at 6 o'clock. Roll call, please.
Scott Weaver,
Here.
Paula Tubalkin,
Here.
Matt Rosalowski,
Here.
Marty Hira,
Here.
But he's just another. He's not on the service committee. He's gonna be
Okay.
he's gonna be with John and I and Michelle and you in the other section.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what we take our mask off when we talk.
Can I have a motion to approve the minutes from last month?
I have one thing that I wanted to share, bring up with Mary Ann, because since you haven't been there when we have been working on, when we use initials, abbreviations, we should spell it out first. And maybe, and I'm referring to LMI on the second page. And I may not have mentioned what LMI stands for, but I would like
Right.
to see it referenced as low to moderate income. Paula stated that we have enough household accounts. Because it's
Okay,
the LMI, just so people who read it understand it.
okay,
I don't think she was involved in all that, Paula, when we.
No, I think that was before she came.
Yeah, it was, yeah, okay.
DMRC. Okay.
Okay. Other than that, are we good, Paula?
Yes,
Okay. Do you make a motion?
I move we approve the minutes as amended.
Matt, are you good with that?
Yes.
I will second that motion. All ayes?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Michelle, do we have any citizens online with any questions?
Not yet, not that I can see.
Okay. Let's move on to the village administrator's report then. John?
Basically, we're still working on the 16 projects that we've had, and we've spent a lot of time working on the merger with the county and trying to figure out tables and data. And then on the side, Mary Ann and I have worked a lot with the meters already, and trying to reconcile some of the accounts as we go forward. So that's all I have to report.
Okay. Mayor, do you have anything to add to that, or are we good?
Tell me we're replacing that dumpster on third line.
That's part of it. That's it.
Nope, nothing for that.
Okay. All right, let's review the legislation. We have no legislation. So we will move on to new business. Cemetery trust and endowments. Linda, do you want to give us some insight on all that?
Okay, what happened is when Cookie and Dave were at the cemetery planting the flowers, a Coit family member came up and said, "We don't understand, our key won't open the mausoleum, we have Coits in there, and also our flower bed used to be bigger than it is now, is there still money in the trust? So Cookie and Dave contacted me and I said, well, that trust was terminated back by Donna Hawkins back in the 2000s. So when I researched it, it was done in 2009. So somehow we got it terminated and the courts turned over to us. You will see if you go back to the paperwork starting with Chrisley, Harrington, and Pierce. It says where the village applied for and they terminated the trust and that we received $4,828.97 for them.
Okay,
So let's keep that in mind, okay?
okay,
So then, as I've been mayor, I knew that there had been a Coit trust, but I didn't know that that over $4,000 had been given to the village. And I just assumed we'll jump to step 2 of this debacle, which is the cemetery trust endowment, which is on your the report that Jenny gives us every month.
right.
And it says cemetery endowment, and it's $49.51. There's $13,000 in that. Now, I'm not exactly certain, maybe Michelle can answer this, but there's this one list that says original contributions to cemetery endowment CD. And you guys all have that, it's there. It starts off with Bowen and West Peaker, maybe, and on down. So all these people were getting flowers from the Mantua Village Hillside Ladies Cemetery Association until that endowment was turned over to us. So that's what that $13,000 is. Now, Jenny says that that generates about $260 a year, which would be enough to get some flowers for there, to do that when we get to that section. Well, then I said, well, I don't understand what this other paper is. The next one that says, these are the graves represented by the trust fund that the village is to maintain, plant flowers on, and place wreaths on at Christmas time. All these people, I always thought, shame on me for assuming, it never really came up, that these were all relatives of the Thompsons.
Okay,
And so, okay, because that's what I've always said to the trustee. I said, you know, we'd like to pave the road. We have all these Thompson people that are retired up there. And so that was one of the selling points on the different bigger projects that we've gotten done. So now that I know that, and know that we receive funds for the Biana Coit Trust that generates, well, it doesn't generate anything because we just put it into the cemetery fund. I think service and finance, and I figure instead of going through all of this at the council meeting and boring everyone and taking up time, that we all need to review this and make some decisions. Number one, the $4,800 that we received from the courts for the Biana Coit Trust. Do you want to just leave it go and let the family know that's so sorry, so sad, there's no money left, don't know where it went? Or should we put it in a CD so it generates interest so that we can buy flowers for her grave, her family's plot? So there's one thought. Then about the Ladies Cemetery Association that involves most of the people on this list except for the bottom 2. Do we want to continue, start using that $260 a month from, I'm sorry, a year, $260 a year to buy the flowers for the urns for those people? And then the Thompson Trust would not be paying for 31 urns. They'd only be paying, I think there's 20 that we would take off because Thompson Trust pays for the ones in front of the mausoleum, the ones at front of by Thompson's, and then the ones in the Veterans Circle. So, I mean, now that this came to light, and then here, let me throw something else in. And I know, Paula, you're probably taking notes. So,
Yeah, I'm trying to.
right, yeah. So then we have one of a Cora Turner, who is on the Cemetery Ladies Trust Fund, that she actually has, and you guys have a copy of it, a codicil to her will that says to put flowers on her sister, her husband, and her grave on Decoration Day and put a wreath on the family lot at Christmas time. Well, in 8 years, I've never had anybody put any wreaths up there because this is the first time I heard of this last week. So apparently we're responsible for that, and that would come out of that $13,000 endowment fund, that interest there. I mean, we want to make sure we're doing right by these people that donated money to have their graves taken care of. And I have no idea what to do.
Well, I got to tell you, I'm at a loss right now for everything that you're talking about. The only thing I've ever known about was Thompson's. I mean, that was as long as I've been involved with you, and I mean with planning and service. That's all I've ever known. What do we do here? How do we go back and make sense of all this? This is kind of crazy. You know, I never had any idea that any of this stuff was.
I knew about
on the
the
books.
points because I remember sitting in the audience and Donna Hawkins saying that there was hardly any money left over, that she was going to get that terminated. Well, to me, $4,800, if that was put in a CD, it would generate a little bit of something every year to put flowers on the grave.
Yes.
And all she had the clerk do at the time was just put it in the cemetery fund. I mean, I guess that's fine, but you would think, and maybe I'm wrong, guys, that you would want to have it in its own little place so you knew how much it was generating or how much you've used. Like we do Jenny, we've collected all those funds for Tom Aldrich's wife and sister-in-law. You know, Jenny has that
Right.
in a file kind of place. You know, it's in cemetery, but it's
Right.
she knows how much is there.
Right.
So I don't know. But
Wow.
now that these point people were here, they want us to contact them. Number one, to give them a key so they can get in the mausoleum. And number two, do we need money? Well, I don't want to say, oh yeah, we got it, but don't know what's going on. So I think we need to make a decision. Now, it could be their key did not work because the door is out of alignment. Maybe they just couldn't get it to work because of that.
Well, John, can you have one of the guys go down there with a key and get in, and then let's make sure to give them that key?
Yeah, I can do that.
Okay.
Yeah, because according to this Mrs. Coit, anyone who's buried in the mausoleum, a family member was given a key to get in.
Right.
That was news to me too.
Yeah, I think I remember that. I mean, I think I remember that conversation, but boy, I all this money, I never knew any of this. This is all news to me.
Well, that's why I give you guys time to digest it. Hopefully
Yeah.
you can all maybe even chime in if you have time on next Wednesday for finance to have a brief discussion on it, because I don't know what to do.
So
Paula,
this- Go
do
ahead.
you have any, I mean, when you're at your finance meetings, do you guys have any discussions related to the cemetery that much?
Never
I mean,
have.
there's no reason to, right? I mean, there's really,
No, there's
whenever
never been
something,
anything brought up. No.
right, right. Wow. Looks like you guys might have a project.
Oh, I'm not on finance.
Oh, that's right. You're not on
That
finance.
is.
That is.
That would be Matt now.
Oh, yes, Matt.
Well,
Wow.
that's okay. There's actually something I wanted to talk about the cemetery anyways, but I would say let's just finish up this piece of the conversation first. I had a lengthy conversation with the residents today about the cemetery that I wanted to discuss.
Okay. So there's part of it, okay? So that has to do with the endowments and the attachments. Then you guys, if you remember, in our last meeting, I had asked Jenny if she would print me off a report of how much the trust, the Thompson Trust, had given us for mowing and how much we actually were billed by the mowing company.
Right.
And so that report is attached. I think when it came through for you guys, it's on 2 sheets because it printed it out regular size instead of the portrait size instead of. But the total for the last 4 years that we have overreach for is $6,935.13. Now, when I started doing the letter to Mr. Lombardi back in 2014, or I think it was 2015 is when I started doing it, because Kate used to do it, and that was fine. I mean, and so I mirrored it off hers, how many mows she had, and the flowers that she ordered and all that kind of stuff. And then over the time, you know, the increases in the dollar amount that they charged us per mow. The last couple of years, we haven't had as many mows because, and we charge them, he pays us for 30 mows per year. But they haven't been mowing as much because it's been so wet. And so they couldn't mow. And so now it's reached a point, I mean, when it was $42.82, that was all right. $265, I wouldn't worry about. But then in 2018, when we had
Right.
over 2,000 left, and then last year over 4,000 left, that's a
How did
chunk.
we have 4,000 left last year?
Because I think we were paying him $350 per mow, and this is how much every month shows how much he was billing the village for mows. So I just wanted you guys aware of this, that maybe we should start doing a reconciliation at the end of the year so we can determine, do we want to send a letter to the trust and say, this year you gave us X amount of dollars for mowing, but we only used 6,000 of it. Would you like us to apply that to this year's, or would you like us to send you a check back for that? Just so we reconcile with them, so that if we sit on this, I feel like
That's bad
it is
karma.
the service that we didn't do.
Yeah, no, I think that we need to, personal opinion, I think that we need to tell, is that still Mr. Poland? I think we need to tell them that that's left over. We can either apply it to next year or we can refund their money. But I don't think it's right that we're building up $6,900 worth of overages that, you know, weren't paid out. Like I said, that's just bad karma.
Yeah, I agree with that. I just have a quick question. So that total received column is how much we received from the trust to mow the grass. And
Right.
and column L is how much we were actually charged. That's the overage. So I guess my question is, why the big jump between 2017 and 2018 for the amount that we received? And even between 2018 and 2019? Like, was it
Well,
anticipated that the cost of loan was going to go up that much?
I think the cost of mowing went up some, but I think also I think we laid out some ground rules for them too. Like they needed to mow certain times before Memorial Day, and I mean there were some stipulations that we had them starting a little bit earlier.
I mean, everything else, so they will.
I think there was, what was that, John?
I said we made them trim more. We told them to trim more, and also when the bids came in, they were higher that time.
Yeah.
That's what happened. That was the jump.
Okay.
Okay, I just pulled out the paperwork for 2019 and it was 10,500. Let me keep flipping here. I can't lick my finger.
Yeah, Matt, I think we added a few things, like we wanted them to do a little bit more,
Right, in 2018, we billed for 30 mows at 265. And then it was 30 mows at 350.
Everybody.
So that would explain that difference. Let me get back to 2017. Give me a few minutes here. It was 265 per mow. And I can see where I've made a mistake. And on 2017, we only charged them for 20 mows. So whether I did a typo and didn't realize it for that. So that was my mistake. So I can let him know that I overdid it. And then back in 2014, we were charging for 30 mows at $300. So I don't know which is right. 2015, it was 20 mows for $5,000. 2014, it was 30 mows at $300 for $9,000. I think Jenny said we generally were doing between about 25 mows, and that's where her and I had talked earlier in the year, and said, well, maybe we should reduce it to 25 mows. And then when she printed off this reporting, oh my God. So I don't know which is right, because I have paperwork from 2014 that says 30 mows and paperwork that I did not do has somebody else's signature on it. And in 2015 for the 30 mows. So I'll sit down and write a letter to them and tell them about how we owe them this money for overage on those, if that's what council so desires.
Well, that's what
let him be aware that there was a typo. But why it was jumping from 30 to 20 to 30 to 20 again, I don't know.
That's what I desire, but I mean, everybody needs to weigh in on that. That's just my opinion. I mean,
Right, I think we do need to advise the trustee of the overage that we've been getting.
okay. Matt, how do you feel?
Yeah, I agree with that. Absolutely. I'd want to be notified for sure.
Okay, right
Now,
on.
does that mean we should begin taking the number of mows down from 30 a year?
Well, that's what I said. When Jenny
Yes.
and I had talked earlier in the year, we talked about maybe reducing it to 25 mows, because she said sometimes we've been doing between 22 and 27 mows.
Okay.
If we do 25, then we should cover it, hopefully.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think,
I just didn't realize the dollar amount was what we still had.
Right.
and maybe what we do when you write that letter is provide him this information about the billing that we've been receiving, and say we had been charging for 30 mows, but now we realize we probably aren't going to have that many because the weather changes. And we're going to be reducing it to 25 mows a year. Do you want us to, because that 25 may fluctuate some
Right.
Yeah. Right.
year to year. But we would be charging the trust for 25 mows in the future. And if we end up with 28, is the village going to pick up those extra mows out of the budget of the general fund? Or do we say, can we use this, set this aside for if the weather changes and we mow more often? I don't know how you'd say it at this point, but
No, I know what you're saying. And the total budget, and Michelle, please correct me if I'm incorrect. When we set that based on how many plots or burials we think we are going to have, plus whatever we've asked the trust for and what they've given us. So there should be some extra money in there. The Thompson Trust is supposed to be for the care of the Thompson graves, not for the general maintenance of the cemetery.
so are you saying we should not be charging them for the mowing? We should not be asking for mowing money?
No, because back in the past, we had
What else? Yeah.
we had asked the trust if they would pay for the mowing, and so
Mhm.
it wasn't something we just dumped on them. We asked. And
Right.
Okay.
So I'm not even sure why you brought that into this discussion, I guess.
Well, because this was going to be the discussion, just the mowing, how to do that, and this other stuff came up after the Coit lady came to the cemetery the Thursday before Memorial Day.
Okay.
Yeah, I had asked Jenny for this
Mhm.
mowing report at last council meeting. And then Mrs., I don't know what her name is, Cookie has her name and number. The Coit family came the Thursday before Memorial Day and said, why isn't my plot getting as big as it used to be? Why can't I get it? And that's what brought all this other stuff up. Otherwise, it probably wouldn't have come up if we wouldn't have, Cookie wouldn't have, and Dave wouldn't have run into the
Yeah.
family member.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So at this point, actually, we're looking for around $11,000 and addressing how the 4,800 for the Coits, which we've got to either create an endowment trust for the Coits internally, and then the 6,000 or nearly 7,000 for the Thompson Trust that we've been overcharging.
But Jenny still has that money.
Yeah, Jenny still has that money. We don't know what happened to
We
the
don't know what happened to the 4,800.
4,800, yeah. Have fun, Matt. Finance is yours. You just got heads up.
Well, the 4,800 was quite a while ago.
2009.
Yeah, 2009. Okay.
I mean,
So there
I
should
don't,
be interest.
Yeah.
did you say what I thought you said, Paula? With interest? I wasn't going to say that, but I had been thinking that. How much would we owe her if we'd been paying interest?
Let's not worry about that right
Yeah, let's
now.
not, yeah, let's not
Yeah,
go.
because we would have bought flowers out of it, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So that was sort of, maybe let's figure that's kind of an offset at this point. Unless you feel bad about that, Scott.
No, I feel bad enough that we didn't know about all this.
Yeah.
But that's okay. So 2000, Linda, did you pass this on to Dave?
Our Dave?
Yeah, Saluka?
No, I did not yet. I was gonna send it to everybody and Jenny for finance for next week.
Okay. Yeah, just give them fair, give them a
No,
chance.
no, that's why I sent it to you guys last Thursday, so you'd have time to.
Yeah,
Yeah, but we had no idea what we were
What was she
getting.
talking about? I'm sorry?
we had
We
no
had no
idea.
idea what we were getting
Yeah.
involved with. Yeah. Looked over them, but it's like, oh, okay.
So Matt, you can take our, since the three of us agree, you can take that to finance, okay?
Sure thing.
I mean, you can voice services opinion on that.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, the 4,800 has to be found someplace and put into a pot
yeah,
of money.
All right.
okay.
Understood.
So what was your question? You spoke with someone about the cemetery.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So I had a lengthy conversation this afternoon with a resident about the cemetery, and they just wanted to raise awareness about an unkept state of the cemetery. And personally, I haven't been down there in about 5 years or so I haven't seen it for myself. But was told the grass was high. And just to finish running down the list here, sinkholes in graves that were dug in the wintertime, like the dirt settled and like there's holes on top of the graves now. There's areas where grass needs to be planted. There's a marker that was hit at some point. It was kind of only, I guess, half put back together. And there's ruts in the ground from like trucks and cars running through there. So I just wanted to raise awareness to that. But I guess my question is who's responsible for the maintenance of the cemetery in general? I know we pay for, I guess, landscaping services for lawn mowing and stuff like that. But what about, like the grass planting and things like that? Like, who's responsible for that stuff?
That's the village administrator as the sexton. That's John
The service guys
and
do
the
that.
service
They
guy.
do that every year. Like
Yeah.
this year, it's still too wet in many areas even to get on. So
Yeah,
once
sure.
it dries out, they'll redo a lot of things again.
Yeah, sure. I figured
More like that's 25, 26, they probably should be doing more than what they've been doing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's a matter of him getting back around. But since he lives in town now, I think he's going to take better care of the mowing. He should.
Okay, cool.
And as far as that one headstone, that was a village employee that when they were doing a burial, it had been tipped over. They got it straightened up. And like you said, it's 3/4 of the way back on the footer, but it's not all the way.
Okay.
You're
Cool.
aware of that.
But just so I'm clear, we do the landscaping and the mowing, right? The village does?
We mow, and at Memorial Day, they are supposed to weed whip around the graves, but the rest of the time, the maintenance of the flowers and the weeding right around the headstones, the rest of the year is the property owners,
Okay.
family members.
Okay, very good. Understood.
Yeah, we don't weed somebody else's flowers or anything like that. Now,
Okay.
our guys are supposed to take, like this spring, there were still Christmas wreaths and stuff that people had put up there. And so they're supposed to remove those because the residents, family members are supposed to come and take those like by May 15th or something. I don't remember the exact date.
Okay.
But
Right,
I do agree with you. I did notice that the grass was a little more untidy than it usually is. I know it has been wet. I know my husband's been mowing 2 and 3 times a week because of the rain. But I was going to talk to the mower about staying a little more on top of it.
Yeah, sure. Very good. Thank you.
Because generally, he does keep it fairly good. Unless it rains. If it rains, he won't go in there because then it turfs up everything. That 0-turn mower thing.
Yeah.
But next time when somebody's discussing a concern with you, if they could give you the grave name or the plot number or something like that, that makes it easier for us to
Correct.
tell the guys where they need to address a problem.
Yep, sure thing. Cool.
Okay.
Okay. So we don't even need to discuss our mowing overage now, do we? Done with that? Orchard Street widening. Oh, I'm sorry. Paula, are you all good? Are we good with the cemetery now?
Yes.
Okay, Matt, you're all good? We can move on?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Orchard Street widening, big bid packets. Do we have any movement on that or?
He sent out the bid packets for those, and they're supposed to be back and turned into the office by noon on June 11th for
Okay.
opening. He also did include, because of the price of it, he sent an email to Ellie to let her know who the it was my understanding, I know he said, I saw the email, letting her know that the bid package went out and who they were going, who they were going to.
Okay.
Because there had been the discussion about, even though that she's not registered, I'm not sure if that's the correct word,
Certified.
without certified, however it is, that with this project, apparently they don't have to be. And so that she could contact them and give one of the contractors a bid on the concrete.
Oh, that would be great.
Well, yeah, so that's what we were trying to do.
Okay.
Thank
Good,
you.
good.
That was good.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I'm glad that'll work out, or I hope it works out.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, moving on. Still advertising for an operator. Have we gotten any bites, John?
No, I did get a resume yesterday that I actually pushed to the county. It's actually a former road tech plant manager. No certifications, no nothing. And he can't run the wastewater plants without EPA certification. So that's the type of applications we've been getting. If we get something or word of mouth, hey, is that job still open? And that's what they do. They're not even certified. They don't have one EPA. They may have been a manager for 20 something years, but not in water and sewer, and are aware of the quirkiness that the EPA imposes, on each operator. So no, nothing.
Okay. Wow, this is going to be tough, isn't it? All right, let's move on to old business. The asset management plan, that's just out there, right, Linda?
That's a John question. He's been.
Yeah, I've
looking at it.
actually talked to the EPA once again on that, on our MOP, and they are letting it slide partially, but not. On the phone, she says we'll let it go till after the election on November. That way we have a better determination where we're at. Because I told her most of these determine in 5-year plans. We don't know where we're going to be in 5 years. We have no way of knowing that or projecting it. So now she wants me to check a bunch of boxes on the asset management plan, which I'll do. But that's about all we can do right now is check the boxes they want. We've done a lot of this through our negotiations. So there's data and paperwork to see. I even provided that $14 million status to the EPA saying there's a lot of thought been done by both by the county and by us. And that's all an asset management plan is, that we're going to do it, how are you going to do it, how are you going to get the money. And that's why the EPA has been attacking. And that's what it is. It's an attack on the small plants because we can't afford it. And they're making that willfully known to us and to everybody else. So that's where we're at. I mean, we're okay still, but after November, we're going to be forced to do something one way or another.
Right. Okay. Okay, we're not in dire straits yet, right? I mean.
Oh, we can. We don't know if we'll own the plants or the county will own the plants. So do you use the county's asset management and leverage? Because of course, if the county comes in, then we can do that whole thing within 5 years. But if we still have to own the plants and it fails, it's going to take us a lot more than 5 years, much more. We'll have to wait till those accounts build up before we can do one project.
Okay.
So, and they understand that too.
Yeah, right. Okay. All right. Michelle, is anybody online that we need to answer or talk to or?
Nobody.
Okay. Anything else that can come before the meeting or come before the committee? Does anybody have anything they want to talk about?
I had a question regarding, I understand that when they were repairing the sewer line through Compass parking lot, and they were doing it off of the premises. But that's when we ran into a water main and broke it, and the village was out of water for a while. That the water that was rushing out of there actually went in and flooded Compass and caused them to close down for, what, a day or two? Have they brought that up to us at all?
No, and if they do, they should first check with their insurance company first.
Mhm.
That'd be an insurance matter before they would check with us, but yes. And then what
Okay.
we would do, we would go after, if then they came after us, in turn, we'd go on the bond that Workman had working there. Because they didn't call us for the oops marking till that day. And they should have still known the line was there. So that's the way that'll fall. If Compass has not contacted us, they should check their insurance, and if not, then we'll go after Workman's insurance.
Okay.
That's where that would be at.
And the other question I have deals with, I understand we were taking, the two property owners, Jeff and Karen, to court. The more I think about this, and I go back to the meetings we had the public meetings last fall regarding the takeover by the county. And it was during that meeting that the mayor, and when she was talking, she explained to me later that she was addressing that based on what the county's way of approaching things was. That the county would encourage people to, or encourage or allow people who have multiple meters on their property to have one main meter feeding in and have one main meter. Well, if you go back to the minutes of I think it's October special meeting, or else the November council meeting, there's no caveat in there that the mayor is speaking for how the county would handle it. And
Excuse me, Paula, in the minutes, or did you listen to the tape also?
in the minutes, because the minutes is what you also tell the residents to look at.
But they can also request a copy of the tape, so if that was the October tape, I'm going to listen to it.
Please do, because I know my mouth fell open at the time. And I didn't say anything, but I was like, whoa, wait a minute. If this doesn't go forward, you just opened up some problems for us, because I don't remember hearing you say this is the way the county would approach it.
Both of those individually, Paula, I did talk to Mrs. Stutzman on several occasions, told her not to do it. And even when they were doing it, it was told not to do it, and she did it right in front of our guys.
Mm-hmm.
And Jeff and I, we had said, no, he's not going to do it. And even talked to his plumber, his Harner, and he said, no, I'm not going to do it. But then they went and did it the next day. So that's what I think the committee was more angry about, and we were, that they were tampering. Even though we told them, specifically, we noted what the mayor, was said in the meeting, how that can be interpreted. And they were told on separate occasions by me, myself, both personally, both Jeff and and that was where the misunderstanding. And Jeff was more concerned about his tenants stiffening for the water, which I understand.
Yeah.
Both of those cases now have been agreed to be settled out of court, and Stutzman's going to change hers back to the regular, and Jeff is going to just pay each unit charges as if there is, I believe, 5 separate units. He will pay each unit. It's 5 or 4. So he'll, even though he has a 1 meter, he'll still going to pay us the surcharge
and
and
sewer
and the
increase.
capital increase. So
Okay.
they agreed to that. So it's as if they already had, they would not have touched them, is what both of them will be have agreed to.
Okay, then my question was, because also during those discussions, you brought up about Mockney and how Mockney had just 1 meter. And, you know, the more I think about this, I'm beginning to say, oh, well, does that mean that Mockney, when we were discussing his service, he was paying the low charge for everybody, all of his units, as well as covering the overbill? I wasn't sure because at one point I thought that it was brought up that Mockney had 1 meter and multiple units tied to that 1 meter.
He has 1 meter,
He does have 1 meter and he has
7
multiple units.
7.
And actually 7 units, and he kept on saying a bunch of them were empty, when in fact only 2 of them were empty.
Okay,
Kept on getting misinformation about ones that were empty and not. And as of 2 years ago when the legislation was done, he was supposed to be charged per meter. And that's what we finally got him to agree to and put in writing. And we're gonna do it on a case-by-case basis for everybody now, just to make sure nothing's missed.
so is that the same type of agreement you've come to with Jeff?
Yes,
Basically.
absolutely, correct.
Okay,
Yeah, that's so we still, as a village, to continue to collect, we have to try to keep that revenue around this fund.
coming, yes.
Yes,
And so that was presented to Karen Stutzman and she decided not to do that?
through her attorney, yes. She decided just, when she gets back into town, her attorney and a plumber are to change everything back over
Okay,
for meters.
She still, Paula, she still left her meters in. She put a master meter before it. Okay, so
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm assuming we're just reading the master meter at this point.
Correct.
At Jeff's, he took all of his meters out and took them down the service garage and said, here's your meters. We kept 1 as our master meter. So he removed all of his.
And
okay,
his intent was not criminal.
No.
When you look at it, he was just trying to, as people step them and move out, not getting stuck with these bills. Now he makes them pay a portion of the water bill. It's more equitable for that property that he has.
okay. Thank you.
Okay. Anything
And-
else? Oh, sorry, Paula, go ahead.
One other issue, and I know that when planning went through the house reviews last week, I ended up, when I went up to get the permit, Mary Ann met me at the door and she handed me all of the floor plans that were required and along with the permit. And at that point, I just blew my top. And unfortunately, Dave was the recipient of my former red hair taking effect. And I think it really comes back to, and one of the things Dave tried to settle me down on, and I heard it, was that, we do need to sit down and look at some of the requirements that are being placed on single-family home builds. I know in talking to Restoration 44, they ended up paying $2,200 just to get the permit because of all the background work they had to do for improving the landscape flow between the bank and their property. And that just seems, and that didn't include any of the physical work they had to do. And I'm just wondering, how are we working with the businesses around here and so on? And yes, I know, Scott, you go back and say, it's in our ordinances, we've got to follow them. What I'm beginning to wonder is, maybe a thought we should be giving it is, it's in our ordinances. Why is it there? What is the purpose? And is it really what we need to follow, or should we be modifying it? Like this, I forget what, I think it was 14 copies of the site plan and so on. And one of them was going to the police chief and the fire chief and the shade tree. And what do they do with those? Do they just throw them away? Is it really necessary? Even on businesses that are Napa, when they built, do the police chief and fire chief keep those forms? Do we really need that many? And I think that's a review that we have to sit back and logically try to do.
Yeah, it is. It
Okay,
is. But it always, somebody always comes up before we ever get to it. You know what I mean? We've been working on that book, picking things apart on it and trying to redo signs and redo this and redo that. And I mean, you just happened to stumble onto something that we haven't done yet. But no, I totally agree with you. And that's why, I told Linda when that meeting was over, I said, you know what? Give my prints back to them so they can give them to a subcontractor.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, the subs all want a set of prints, So, I mean, that was my feeling.
Yeah.
If I need to look at a print, I can ask John or ask Linda to see one of your prints, But I mean, I understand what the intention was at the beginning. It was so every member of the planning commission had their own so they could review them. And I mean, I get that, but that's why I left mine there.
Yeah.
Because
well,
there was no reason for you to make another one to give to the electrician. If you could
I
give them
didn't
mine.
need it because our builder is a certified electrician, certified plumber, certified
Yeah.
HVAC. He has his own equipment. He doesn't do the roofing anymore. He doesn't do the concrete level, smoothing and so on. He just says, I'm not getting down on my knees and doing that kind of work anymore. But it was just like when that, and Mary Ann, you had to see the fire in my eyes. But yes,
Well,
and
the reason for us leaving those there wasn't malicious, believe me.
well, no, I know that, but what I'm saying is, please definitely go back and look
Yeah,
at
we
those
will.
things.
We will.
Yes,
We will go back and look at it. We will.
It was, and Dave must have already mentioned that to you, Scott.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
We talked
he did,
about it.
he did,
Well,
yeah.
hey, I mean, you have to. You
Yeah.
have to talk about
Oh, wait a minute. You guys are on the same committee and you're talking government business? Village business?
it. Yeah, we live across the
Okay.
street from each other.
I always get my hand slapped for that one.
I know.
Okay. Thank you.
Is that it?
That's it.
Matt, do you have anything else?
Nope, I'm good. Thank you.
Okay. Marty, do you
I
have
agree with the review.
sitting there quietly?
I'm just observing this and I'm almost laughing.
Almost?
Almost.
Go play your
Almost.
All right, then I make or does anyone want to make a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
I'll make that motion to adjourn.
I'll
Okay.
second.
All right, then let's adjourn. All ayes?
Aye.
All right.
Aye.